All right guys, this is Tyler White. We're going to talk today about building natural cordage. Natural cordage is something that is valuable for I don't know how many things, from shoelaces to bow drills to even creating a small hand drill kit with your thumb straps. Whatever it is that you're doing, natural cordage can be incredibly valuable. So it really pays to learn how to make natural cordage. Once you get the concept of making natural cordage out of fibers, you can use virtually any fiber to recreate natural cordage. Here we have a plant called Dog Bane. Dog Bane grows locally, it grows along rivers, it's something that's really easy to find, easy to use, and I'm going to show you how to make natural cordage out of the Dog Bane. So let's get to it. So the first thing that we've got to do is we got to find natural cordage, find Dog Bane. So you got to know what this stuff looks like. Right here, we actually have some Dog Bane. Dog Bane looks like this stuff right here. The way that you know for sure is it's going to be the leaf type. It's got just a little bit of a red tinge to it. And on the inside, it's going to have a milky, milky substance, okay? They call that Dog Bane for a reason, because it is poisonous and it will mess with dogs. Let me see if I can get a focus a little bit better here. Okay, so that milky substance is how you know. Now you don't want the first year Dog Bane. You can make cordage out of it because the stalk has fibers, but if you do, you really need to wear gloves and don't be putting that stuff against your skin because it's bad. What we're looking for is last year's Dog Bane, which looks like this. Now, this is an ugly piece. I'm gonna go through this little baby forest here and get as much as I can. But what we're looking for in the Dog Bane is that fibrous material. If you look at it, it has that nice fiber right there. And that's what we want from the Dog Bane, is that nice fiber. Okay, so milky plant, grows by the river, leaf shaped like this. It is poisonous. In its green state, it's not poisonous. In its brown state, that doesn't mean I'd put it in my mouth. But we want the 1-year-old brown stuff, not the 2-year-old gray stuff. It's just not strong enough. As you can see, this is fairly strong string all by itself. As I pull on it, it's gonna strip before it breaks, okay? And what we're looking for is that fiber, and that fiber we're gonna turn into rope. We can use willow, we can use yucca. There's a ton of different types of fibers that you can use, but one of the best in this area is Dog Bane, and that's what we're gonna do. Okay, natural cordage. The first thing that we need to do is process the Dog Bane. Now, I'm gonna grab a stick of Dog Bane here. And what you need to understand about this plant specifically is that there's 3 layers. There's a waxy layer on the outside. There is I like to call it the peanut shell. If you've ever eaten peanuts, you take the outer shell off and there's this thin layer, like a membrane. It's got a layer like that as well. Then you've got the fibers. Those are the 3 bark layers that you need to deal with. Inside of that is pith, P-I-T-H, okay? Pith is essentially a cork type material that the plant uses to absorb water up the center of it, and we need to remove that. So the first thing I'm going to do is take off these little guys. They will create issues, and we'll just stop right there at the top, okay? Right here is that pith in the middle, right? The way that we deal with that is the first thing we do is crush it, okay? Now you can either just put this on the ground and step on it and it will break into 4 pieces. Or if you don't have any hard area like a road or something, just softly squish it between 2 rocks, or you can even just take the back of your knife and smash it. I'm gonna smash it on something real quick. I'll just use this tree. Okay, so I've squished it and it breaks into 4 little pieces, right? Each piece is going to be a strand. So what I need to do, I forgot one step. If you really want incredibly quality fibers, you basically scrape that wax off the outside. So let's say I'm making a bracelet, or let's say I am making a fishing line or something that I need incredibly tight fibers with. What I'm going to do is first take the back of my knife and remove all of that waxy stuff, okay? That's really time consuming, but what it'll do is it will allow the fibers to touch each other without a layer of wax in between. The reason why that's important is because fibers hold themselves together with friction. The tighter the weave and the more friction available, the stronger the rope. Now, it's not a requirement to scrape this off if you want to make a rope. It's just going to make your rope stronger, and that's important if you're using a really thin, tiny rope for something like fishing, because with fishing, if you're going to make a gorge hook, you want a thin, tiny rope, and you're never going to make monofilament line like you would with a normal fishing pole, but you'll get close enough that you can actually catch, you know, catfish and carp and whatever else, things that will feed you. So once you have scraped that outer part, then you're going to crush it like we have done here. So once it's crushed, see, it looks like peanut shells. Once it's crushed, I'm going to split it into the 4 pieces. Now when I crushed it this way, so it is going to break easiest this way. Let's see where it goes, kind of chase it. And you'll essentially get 2 pieces. Now, think about what I've got in my hand. I've got a thick part and a thin part. So you want to flip this around when you eventually put it back together. So you have a thin part with a thick part and a thin part with a thick part once they go together. What that'll give you is continuity so that your rope isn't tapering from fat to skinny, right? So I'm going to set this off to the side for now, pointing in that direction, and I know this fat part goes with that skinny part. Now I'm basically going to tip these over and peel each one of these little pieces of the pith off. P-I-T-H, pith. Say that 4 times fast, right? And it's going to give me this fiber. As I peel this, you'll want to go one direction and then the other direction so that you don't rip off all the fibers that you're looking for, okay? This is kind of time consuming, but how much of a quality rope do you want from this process? The answer to that question is going to tell you how much effort do you want to put into it. So let me get through this part real quick where I'm pulling all the pith out, and then I will do that other piece and we will make some cordage. Okay, that's the first strand. Fat part in the bottom, thin part in the top. I'm going to set it down so I don't confuse it. Here's the second strand. I've already got a piece that's kind of coming loose, so I'll process that real quick. Make sure that you don't, you want the fiber, so make sure that you go back and forth with these and you don't split it. Otherwise, you just have all these little chunks of fiber that you got to weave together and try to make work. Okay, I've got my fat side on the bottom with this one skinny on the top. Over there, I have the opposite of that. So now what I'm going to do is put these 2 together. This will make a thicker rope. I can make one rope out of these strands and another out of the other strands, but I'm just going to show you today how to make a single thicker rope out of the strands that I've got. A little trick for this is to get it wet. So I'm going to drop in the rib real quick. Now that this stuff is wet, it's going to process easier. Now with my right hand, I twist away. With my left hand, I twist towards. It doesn't matter what direction you do this. You can do the opposite of that as long as you're consistent, okay? Now as I start to twist this stuff, I'm going to roll it down my leg really quick. As I start to twist this stuff, it's going to start twisting against itself just like that, okay? When it starts to twist against itself, that's when I can shift, all right? Now, essentially, I have two pieces. The way that you remember this is both of these go away. This part will go towards, okay? So you go away a couple times, away for the second part, and then towards, right? That's the one way to do it while you're using your hand in the air. Away, away, towards. There's an easier way to do this as well. Now you can see I'm starting to get a couple little chunks. Let's go over the easier way now. So the easier way is to roll it down your leg. What I will do is I will roll one piece nice and tight, pin it with my finger, roll the other piece nice and tight, and as they roll, the other piece will roll too, okay? When your two right pieces roll together nice and tight, your left finished rope will start to roll together towards itself as well. See how fast that goes? This is so much quicker than trying to do it the other technique that I showed you. But the other technique that I showed you teaches you how to do this. Now you want this really tight, okay? You want these ropes to start to grab themselves together and start to force themselves to twist. Now if you get one that starts twisting faster than the other, slow down and reset. Get nice and tight, nice and tight. As they start to roll together, I got one twisting a little faster than the other, so I got to tighten it up. You get this rope. Now you can do this technique with any kind of fiber, anything that you want. And as you roll this down your leg, the reason why it works so well is because it's wet. You guys that are back east don't have to deal with this struggle, but here in the desert where it's dry, it's not very grippy. And that grippiness is important. There's nothing wrong with adding a little bit of pine pitch to it if you want as well. Now this rope will stay together all by itself if you just leave it like that, but I like to tie a little knot right there in the end. Now, if you want to add another piece of rope to this, so you're going to continue to make it, essentially, when you start out, have a long end and a short end. When you get to that short end, twist together a piece. Then when you get to the next short end, twist together a piece, and just keep adding it that way. But for now, this is how you make natural cordage. Hopefully, this has been valuable to you. I'm going to save this little chunk and use it later. One real easy way to do that, tie a knot in the end, wrap it around your wrist a couple times. And that initial loop that you started out with, okay, that initial loop that you started out with, just run this knot through it. So essentially you're going like this. Gonna unwind that little loop, run that knot through it, and you got a simple little bracelet. Okay, I'll pull that tight and then just tuck it a couple times, and this gives you the ability to carry natural cordage that you've made. You can use it later on for tying things, binding things. If you're fishing and you want to run the string through the gills, whatever, you've got some natural cordage on your wrist just like that. All right guys, hopefully this was valuable to you. We made natural cordage from Dog Bane. This is a technique that can be used with any kind of long fiber string. So look and find what you've got in the area. Understand that some of the plants are either poisonous or caustic, so they can mess with your hands. So you don't want to use agave or something like that. Make sure that you know what the plant that you're using. And go forth and conquer. Hopefully this has been valuable to you. If it has, please go watch the other videos in the series, and thank you for watching.